In this video, we're going to show you how to prep a compacted gravel base for a back patio area. We had to backfill and build up a low spot, so we're going to show you that whole process. And then we're also going to show you how to set up an outer perimeter form that we had to drill and attach to the concrete retaining wall with some nails so it's properly secured. Please stay tuned until the end so you can see the entire process. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. If you want to learn how to set forms, pour all kinds of concrete work with proper finishing techniques, then you're in the best place here on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. This is the back patio area that we're going to be working on today, bringing in quite a bit of gravel and compacting it. In this part, it was pretty low. They used to have a concrete that was about 10 inches thick with rebar throughout. We're surrounded by a lot of beautiful trees and vegetation, so we're going to be very careful working around all of this entryway. We put down some pieces of boards on the ground, and then we have all this carpet. All this carpet came from the existing old material that we took out, so we're just reusing it. And this is just our entire entry path all the way over here to the driveway where we have all the gravel. We're going to be bringing this with that Bobcat. This is our laser that we're going to be using, a Spectra Precision, and it's pretty straightforward, just has its own tripod. We just set that on the tripod and then we just screw it on right there. So this will help us to get the level that we need, and it just makes our job a lot more easier. So once we have it on, we just wait for a little bit, and then we have our stick right there with the meter, and we're just gonna move it until we have the level established of where it's gonna be right below the sliding door threshold. So once we have it right there, then we also look at it on the other side to see how much of a difference. Ultimately, we're gonna have about 2.5 inches difference in level. So we're gonna start bringing in gravel right there where the door threshold is, and we're using this Bobcat T100. This is a very powerful machine and small enough to get around everywhere, because right here we have a couple pillars and very tight spots, so this machine, it just gets around everywhere really nice. So we're just gonna bring in gravel, fill in this really deep area. We got to bring it all the way up. We had to backfill it about 5 feet. So the way how we do this is you just bring in the 3/4 minus, and then you just put a layer on top, and you want to put water. The water will help to make sure everything is very well compacted, and you just spread it around. Once they drop loaded on there, then you just spread it, and then you can wet it right there. So all of that's going to help with the compaction. And here in a little bit, we're also going to bring in the compactor that we use. This is our commercial grade compactor. So this one it's very heavy, and it just helps us to compact everything. Once we go through the first time, it brings everything down a few inches, because it's quite a bit of material that we gotta fill in there. So we're gonna be doing this every 6 to 8 inches. So basically we're gonna bring in 6 to 8 inches of material, spread it around. Once we have it there, then we're gonna run the compactor over it, and we're gonna do this process over and over and over until we get up to the level right where you see the bottom of the siding of the house. That's where we're gonna have the level. The concrete is gonna be right below the siding, so we have still quite a bit, a little over a foot that we need to fill in 6 to 8 inches at a time and compact it. Make sure everything is nice and solid. Our compactor stopped working, so we decided to do something else. We're bringing in these 2x8 long pieces of wooden boards. We're going to use these to set them up on the outer perimeter of the back patio. They have this existing concrete retaining wall right here, and we're just going to be setting up the forms right on the outer perimeter. The edge of this form board is going to be at least 7¼ inches away from the outer edge. And this is because we're going to have a concrete step. We're going to have like rounded steps right over here in this corner area. So we're going to make sure that we get everything accounted for that. So we have the 6 inches, and then we have the little more space for the form to fit through there. And you'll see that a little bit later how we lay that out. But for now, we're going to be 7¼ inches away from the edge. And then right here, we're just checking the level to make sure that we are about 2½ inches below the door threshold. So we have some slope. The concrete will be sloped down towards this outer edge, basically. So that's what we're doing right now. There was several pieces of rebar that were in the way. So we basically just using a grinder and grinding them down so we can remove them, and we just want to make sure to have a clear working space. And we found like a few throughout the area. So here was another piece of rebar that was in the way, so we're just cutting that one as well, and then we're just bending it back and forth until it breaks off. Since customer decided to keep the existing outer perimeter concrete wall, we're just gonna set up these form boards all along the outer edge, and we're using these rebar ties, cutting them into smaller pieces, and we're gonna be putting that into the drill hole along with the nail, so that way it'll secure the form up against the outer edge of the concrete wall, and then that will be our form board right there, basically. So right here, we already drilled a hole through the form board and into the concrete wall, and we put in that little piece of rebar tie material and then the nail, both of them inside the hole, and then we just hammer it in, and so that helps secure everything in place. So, and the only thing we use for this is a rotor hammer. So you have the rotor hammer with a concrete drill bit. You just drill that into through the wood and into the concrete, and then you put in that rebar tie along with the nail, and you just hammer it in, and that will secure your form board right into the concrete wall. So we're gonna be doing this every 2 to 3 feet all along this 8-foot form board, and ultimately along the entire perimeter. So every 2 to 3 feet, we're gonna be drilling those holes. This is how everything is looking right there. You see that little nail, 1, 2, 3. So you're gonna see them every 2 to 3 feet all along. So we need to have several of those. That way this will be enough to hold any of the concrete. This is a little more close up of all of those nails right in there. So this definitely helps. It kept the form very solid all the way through. And then there's a joint because there's like 2 form boards. There's only one joint right there where they meet, and so in that joint area we're gonna put in a stake, and we're gonna nail it on either side, so that way it will stay secure right in that spot. So that's pretty much the process, you know, to secure this form board. Like I mentioned, you just have somebody drill in those holes through there. You have somebody else go in there, put in the nails with the wire. Once you nail it in, all the way inside. It's gonna tighten everything up, and that form board is not gonna go anywhere. This is how everything is looking so far. One thing that we noticed is the concrete wall was definitely not level all the way through. So the form board, we're gonna set up our own layout and level with the forms that we're setting up right there. So we put up our level, and the level right there, that's where it's gonna be established. But we noticed that the house, the foundation it sunk about a couple of inches. So we just had a consultation with the owner just to make sure everything, she wanted to keep the same level. And so they decided to keep everything the same. They were just gonna have to make some minor adjustments to their siding afterwards. This is that joint that I was talking about earlier. We put a stake right there, and we just put nails on either side, and that will secure everything in place. And so this is how everything is looking so far. All of this is going to be one continuous patio space all the way to this edge. Here at this end point, we have a form board that it's going to fit perfectly right there. We had to excavate and dig around so we can make sure that it fits properly. Once you have everything ready and presented, we can go ahead and set up our form board right there. And then we have a square that we're just making sure the wall is nice and square. And then once we have it, we just put in that long wooden stake board, and we're just nailing it to the form board. So we're gonna put in a few nails on that and just making sure that it stays nice and square. We're gonna put in a couple of stakes that go into the ground, and then we're gonna put a third stake that kind of anchors it in right there, so it'll be nice and supported. The perimeter forms are pretty much set up over here on the left side, and we're gonna also figure out the steps. We do that by drawing lines through the form board right here. We're just gonna make sure that the faces of each step are nice and plumb. And then each of the steps, it needs to have like a little bit of a slope, about 1/4 of an inch. So each step is 1 foot deep, and in the 1 foot deepness, it's gotta slope down 1/4 of an inch. So we're gonna figure that out right now. So basically from this top part right there, that's where the top level of the step is going to be. It's got to have a little bit of the slope right there. So that's where he has the angle, and he's drawing that with a pencil. So that way they can follow that later when they set up their actual forms. They're going to follow this guide. So right there, he did the upper level, and then from there he goes down 6 inches. So we're going to do 6-inch risers. So once you have that, then we go from that point right there and make sure we have 1/4 of an inch slope. So once he has that, he's gonna go ahead and mark it. That's gonna be the second step right there. Once you have that, you can go ahead and measure out 1 foot. So he's marking that second step right there. And then from there, you wanna mark it out 1 foot. So that's the mark right there. That's the next step. So then there, you just go straight down again. Make sure that the step is going to be plumb, nice and level. So you go down. So another 6 inches right there. And then once he has that lower 6-inch level, then from there, he's going to go ahead and do the same thing. So, and he just makes his marks. If you have different risers, you can make them, up to 7.5 inches to be per code. So it just depends on how much terrain, how much difference in height you have to deal with. That's going to determine your riser height. So we always want to make sure that they have equal, that they're all the same, and everything flows properly. So that way we can have a smooth transition. So that's pretty much it. And then from there, we just continue to backfill everything. I mentioned before we had about a foot. We still got about a foot to go. So we're just repeating the process over and over again, filling it in 6 to 8 inches using the compactor around each time. And this is going to make sure that this base is going to be super strong, super firm. And then at the very end, we're going to go ahead and put rebar. So on top of having a nice prepared base, we're going to have the rebar reinforcement. And what we do, we check the level. So right here we have a string line. We're running it from the top of the form board. That's going to be the level out over here on the outside. And then over there where the foundation is, we have like a a red chalk line. So we're just running it from the red chalk line, a string line all the way through, and we're just checking to see to make sure we have 4 inches, because that's how thick the concrete slab is going to be. And it looks like right there we're about 7 inches deep, so we still have about 3 inches on this end. Over here it's getting very close, so this is kind of where it's going to be right there, you know, the 4 inches. So we're just finishing up backfilling right here, and we're just gonna end this spot is gonna be taken care of, and then from here we're gonna go to the other end and just make sure that the 4 inches, it's, you know, everywhere will be the same. This is only one of many of our projects that we are prepping right now before we can actually pour the concrete. So this video is just to show you the process of what we do to get everything ready. Obviously, when I record other videos, when we pour, it took a lot of work, you know, to get everything ready before this job is ready for the concrete. Around those pillars, you know, we're gonna chip that concrete down, and just we're gonna do all the little details that we need. This is the final results after backfilling about 5 feet. We finally have the depth that we need over here, 4 inches. Over there on this outer edge, we still need about 3 more inches. But on this area here where the chimney is, we pretty much have it ready. We just need to, we ran out of gravel material, so we have to get another trailer full and backfill this other half. And then, you know, backfill it and then compact it, check it all over the place, make sure that we have the 4 inches thickness, and that's pretty much it. So this is how we prep. We backfill, compact, we prep for the base, so that way we can pour the 4 inches of concrete. Right over here we're just chipping around the foundation. There was a lot of overpour and concrete that was stuck around the rebar and things like that, so we're just chipping it with the rotor hammer and making sure that everything is nice and clean, nice and professional, just taking care of all the little details so we can get a good quality product at the end. Please stay tuned, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to be uploading a lot of videos in the near future of different projects that we're going to be setting up forms or pouring concrete or doing different kinds of projects, so that way you won't miss out. We try to upload something new every week. So may God bless you, and we'll see you on the next one.